no more intros. This is episode 2 of Out the Blue. I'm here joined by the Mythic Boys, with the Mythic Boys. We're going to talk about PUBG and CS and careers in general. So how's it going, boys?
Good. Great, man. Good
to
be here.
So obviously you boys just come back from Gamescom and competed in PUBG. But before we get onto the PUBG side of things, let's talk about obviously Mythic and the creation of your team. You played, I believe the first season was with Summit, correct? Of ESEA?
Actually, it's been almost an entire year now.
Shit. That's how old I am, see. I'm getting...
Yeah, it kind of started with me retiring from Pro CS and Flom wanting to compete again with serious players. And we made Mythic Reborn, and we started out in Open. Played a season there, and then it was in the second season, yes, that we played with Summit and kind of started to gain some notoriety.
So, like, when I saw you guys form, is it fair to say, I don't want to put words in your mouth, but would you say you're more of a stream team, or are you looking to actually take CS on a serious level again?
I'd say we're a stream team. I'd say, like, when I quit CS, well, I guess when I retired, I never really said I retired, but like, I was just streaming CS, and I think CS is like super boring without competition. So I was like, man, like, I just can't stream pugs like 10 hours a day. This is awful. So I was like, I need to get on like some sort of competitive team and play. But like, we all want to stream. I think the number one thing for all of us is like to be streamers. But like, being competitive is just like a plus and helps the stream.
Yeah.
If I wasn't on a team right now, and I think I speak for all of us when I say this, like, I couldn't see myself streaming content full time for CS and like staying sane without competing in some way.
Yeah.
I get
that. My mind.
Yeah, Flom, you came to me, I think, like, out of boredom, more or less, to try and make this team. Am I wrong?
Yeah, I mean, I had other versions of Mythic with like really big streamers. We had like with friends and stuff like that. It was me, Tim the Tapman, like Summit would play every once in a while, that kind of stuff. So I had like different variations of Mythic, I guess, but Mythic was more of the like competitive side because all of us are hyper competitive and we don't like losing.
Yeah, it's the same for me. Like, you know, from the UK scene, as it goes in CS:GO. Everyone I see you all rolling your eyes, but no, it's the same. Like, I couldn't play. I tried to actually do this Road to Global thing, right, with matchmaking. And I realized my count wasn't even ranked 21 or whatever. I just couldn't be asked, and they told me it'd take me like 2 days to level up, and I was just like, absolutely not. So there you go.
It took me forever to get to that rank to do Prime because, like, literally every game you just got cheated, so I couldn't get my rank up.
Yes, that's what I was saying to George. Like, he was playing on stream, and I was just like, what's he doing? And he's playing a load of public and some arms race and stuff. And I'm like, dude, like, you actually need to rank up. You can't, if you try and do a match make without Prime, you're just gonna get people spin botting everywhere, and just like they really don't give a shit, do they?
Yeah, we had a few friends in. We had LAN, and we went to LAN, just tried to chill on CS, but they didn't have Prime.
No.
So
yeah, that was fun.
Obviously, I wanna get into Gamescom. You guys got invited. To be honest, I didn't even know at the time you boys were invited that you were playing actively as a squad in PUBG. First off, how was it going to that whole event? Was it, you know, we've been to CS lands, right? It's completely different.
I think they did a really good job. It being their first event, and it wasn't truly like a competitive event. It was more like, you know, invite influencers. Let's make our game even more popular than it already is. But I thought they did a really good job. Like, the swag bag they gave us a 1080 Ti. They gave us like level 1 helmets. It was kind of funny. They gave us like
real helmets,
like a backpack. Yeah, they're actually like a legit real helmet.
It's literally a motorcycle helmet with a PUBG sticker on it. That's what it is. Like, it's a PUBG.
Things get weird. I might put this on later.
I'd actually wear that while riding my bike, you know. Fuck it.
What the fuck?
Yeah, they give us like a backpack.
It's like a real helmet.
And,
it's literally just a real helmet with the stickers left on it.
Well, we were talking last week with Daz, and he showed us the pan, and I thought it was just going to be like a fake toy pan, but he told me it was like full cast iron. You could actually kill someone with it. So definitely,
yeah, I think it was badass for a trophy. Definitely unique. I thought it was cool.
No, it was cool. I like that.
But Master Smart, I think it's the best trophy I've ever seen. I think it fits perfect.
Yeah, they
you hang that up on your
something
wall,
from the
like
game.
random people come in, like, why the hell there's a pan on your wall?
That's what Daz did. Daz has it hanged on his wall.
He does. He has it hung on his wall.
Daz is doing it right. Daz is the man.
Yeah, I would have hung that shit up.
Yeah, we actually sat next to Daz and crew. They were super cool.
Yeah, Daz and Ollie were both really nice guys.
Oh, you sat next to them in tournament?
Probably for me. Yeah, probably for me. I think, and I made some like tweets about it, and I've talked about it on my stream. But and actually, I did an interview, and I mentioned all of what I'm about to say. But I think going to the Invitational, I mean, I wasn't even like a hardcore PUBG player before then. I think I clocked in like 150 hours. The invite came from adreN more or less, and the rest of the squad was way more into PUBG than I was.
Okay.
Mostly because it's a 4-person game and there's 5 people on the team. And I don't know. I like to sit out and be the nice guy, I guess, a lot of the time. But when we went to the event, like for 2017 standards, for their very first event as a tournament organizer, like whether it was ESL side of things or Blue Hole side of things or both, like there was some kind of good cooperation going on between them, because with all the technical issues that are going to come with any gaming event, whether it's super hardcore esports or not, you know, they got a lot of things right. And first and foremost, I think like there was good communication that could always be better, right, between the players and the event staff and the admins and the devs, who, I mean, their game isn't like 100% esports ready, right? Like everyone loves to meme about it, but like sure, you know, whether it's the client, the UI, like there are things that can be slightly improved, but all in all, like not only did we have a blast, but the people there that are part of the community, like the PUBG community itself, were super welcoming to us. Like we mentioned, Daz and Hollywood that were on here last week. Like those guys, I mean, not just at the after parties when we're having drinks or whatever, but when we're in the actual event area, like me and Daz are like throwing daps at each other and like cheering each other on during the solos, and like we're competing against each other, but like we're hyped that like we're both of us were making plays, and it was just like I've never met this guy in my life, and most of the people at the event were like that towards us, and I think that was the biggest takeaway for me was like, yeah, the event was pretty fun, and we got to compete and we got to play a game that you know, we don't normally play, but the community itself was so welcoming that it was hard not to be like, wow, things are pretty good over on this side of the fence. Like, fuck CSGO, right, boys? Like, for just at least a moment where we were like, dude, let's play PUBG full time. This is legit.
The thing is,
that we're hitting that a lot, though, aren't we? From various sources, like the community side of things, really what's making up for.
CSGO sad.
Yeah,
yeah, but it sounds a bit like the old school, like CS land stuff.
Yeah, old school CS.
When
everybody was.
Yeah, like you're competing and stuff, but everyone's actually enjoying it together. You're still going to give each other banter, but now it's just all grief from people. That's what it feels like in CS anyway.
Well, yeah, it's like the next step. Like it's just a little bit much.
Yeah, I think like the biggest thing about CS is like it's all super formal and super like to the T now. Like I remember the last event was probably like a Civo LAN.
Yeah.
When like I could yell over at the other team and have them actually hear me like
this is
shouting some smack talk, you know. But like even that wasn't super hardcore at PUBG at the Invitation.
But this is what I think almost like CS has become. Quickly going back to CS, I think it's become so formal, like you said. Like, you know, it's at the major, the booths actually faced each other to try and bring back some of that stuff. But if you're in a fucking bulletproof, soundproof booth, you're not going to hear shit, right? So
yeah.
3Ms on your ears.
I mean, for me, it from the outside, obviously, I wasn't at Gamescom. My partner was at Gamescom. It looked fantastic. It looked like you had a lot of desk space. I think there was maybe 3 restarts, a couple of problems in the duos.
Don't.
There was plenty of
I got the shaft, man. But going back to like saying if I enjoyed.
See, on the outside, it looked alright, but
no, like, as somebody who got honestly screwed over by a lot of that stuff, like I actually still had a good time. But day one, comp crashed. Alex and I in duos, we had our PC power cords kicked out. There were like 3 restarts, and I think Alex had like 6 kills basically lost due to restarts. He literally wiped squad or duos, and they're like, nope, gotta restart. I'm just like, no. It could have been much better, but it could have been much worse, I guess is the best way to put it.
Yeah, I got my only level 3 helmet on a restart. We were legit 5 minutes in. Like, I'm at Novo, and like it was me and Todd. Like, we got some sick weapons. I got a level 3 helmet, and then like 5 minutes in, they just restarted. I was like, this is like, that's crazy.
Well, and I think the real frustration for me is I literally crashed game 1 of the Invitational on solos, and they didn't restart it.
Yeah.
And they were like half the people didn't connect. Like literally game 1 of the Invitational, Todd or our teammate Anger wasn't even told to join. My game crashed. I couldn't reconnect, and then there were like 5 or 6 other people not even in, and they didn't restart. They just kept it rolling.
Yeah.
So they fixed that day too, but then it's like the lack of consistency got really frustrating because you didn't know. All right, are we restarting it? Like there were literally like one was like past 5 minutes and they restarted it.
See, but for me,
definitely like a learn in progress, because remember the Counter-Strike lands back in the day were like, if a round had already started, and like there was so much beef that used to happen on land. Like,
of course,
is the round live? Is it not live?
Yeah.
So
you're taking me back a few years now.
For
back
Mythic,
in CS, there was rules where if it went to a certain point and then you couldn't restart, wasn't it? Or like the next restart would be at the next half if there's an issue with the server.
Yeah.
There was rules and regulations to how long you could leave it before you could restart the game.
Yeah, they need to figure that out for PUBG.
They
I'm not sure what it is, but
like whatever they decide, they just need to be super consistent with it. Because there was just, I think that's probably the most frustrating and like confusing part is you just don't know what's happening the entire time. It's like, all right, are we restarting this time? Like 2 people didn't connect, and then you play the whole way through and you didn't even know.
Yeah, I think like you mentioned though, because it's so early, they need to just formalize an esports rule set, right? I mean, for me, it's going to be crazy to think how they're gonna. There's a lot we mentioned last week. There was a lot of talk with 100 players being too much, 80 players being too much. I mean, some of them even mentioned maybe just having 60 at the start for the map or less. But I don't know. What do you guys feel about that? You were actually in the games playing. Did you feel it was too much of a choke point, or?
I think if they adjust the gas, that won't be an issue because it'll force like having that many people. There won't be that many people alive in like the closing circles because they can't play in the gas, so you're forced to take fights. So I think having more people in it, especially in the first person game, even though we had all those crashes, I think was the best version of that you could see because there were good fights, like cool plays were being made. It wasn't too much, like you didn't like lose track of it. Obviously they have like a lot of spectator bug issues. They're talking about like having input delay by changing like when they would switch cameras and stuff, they're having like delays on that, so it was hard to follow. But no, I mean, I think the player amount is good. I think they need to adjust the other things in the game first.
Okay, so
like, what do you think? Sorry for cutting you off.
No, Karen.
Like, what do you think would need to be changed to not have 70 people alive out of 76 at like 4 circles deep? You know what I mean? Because I don't know, that was the final game of the squads, 4th circle in, like literally 95% of the servers are live. The first 20 minutes, no one's died pretty much, like, and then the last like 2 minutes, everyone just dies.
It was also the third person game though.
Taking back to where we were like on the last podcast, we kind of raised that question with Ollie and Daz, and we kind of like talked about around the point that it is a survival game, so a lot of the onus is on people surviving and not necessarily fighting. So I thought that maybe an idea would just be to incentivize fighting early by adjusting the point system, because obviously you get a lot more points for placements than you do kills. So if you then awarded maybe a lot more points in the first 10 minutes for kills, it might incentivize some teams to go out hunting. But they didn't seem to be. They didn't think that was the best idea. I think you know, a lot of people do like the fact that it is not just a straight FPS; it's a survival game, and there is that element in there. But there definitely has to be something, I think, that's addressed, because I don't think it's castable with that many people at the end. It's just too much for people to follow.
I think
I think it's also hard for the casters to follow, right? Because like when you've got that many people at the end, you can imagine you're looking at still like adreN would say, you got like 70 screens that they're trying to flick between, right? And trying to follow all the action that's going on.
It's tough.
Like it's going to be a nightmare. I mean, if there's like if there's like 20 or 30 or maybe 10, you know, they can have an overview of what's going on. They only have to deal with 10 screens at that point, but 70, that's crazy.
What were you going to say?
I wouldn't be able to do it.
I was just going to say, like, I think part of the issue, I mean, I don't think whether or not you have people hunting at the beginning or at the end, like the frustrating part and the kind of it like felt way more RNG than it ever would online. Like you can kind of plan your end game by the third circle and have at least a loose idea of how you're gonna play it, right? And then just work your way in based on the circles. And if you play a compound, you get lucky. That's how it is. But incentivizing kills, I think, is good. But I think like two things are the issue. Is one, people can still play around in the gas late, right? And when you have so many people alive coming in for the third and the fourth circle, it becomes less about, okay, well, you know, this guy is getting a bunch of kills, so he's getting rewarded, as it is like there was several different situations where we were like playing the game completely correctly. We had positional advantage, and like just suddenly, because the circle's moving in, there's 4 teams all around us, like coming out of the gas, and it's just, I think part of the issue is the map size, right? If you have a smaller map and you have still, if you keep the same amount of players, like people are just bound to fight more, and you instantly, I mean, if you cut the map size in half, you're dealing with half the territory, and you can still keep the rate of the circle the way it is. You just rely less on vehicles and taking compounds early on, and you can actually take some kind of tactical position and actually like use squad tactics. I think that's my part of the reason I thought squads was the most exciting, even though it was third person and not first person, was because, you know, you had teams working together, and the final third circle or whatever wasn't nearly as hectic as it was the first few days, where in solos, literally you're just doing 360s because people are all around you in the last 2 circles. Like
the thing for me about the gas is like I was thinking about this throughout the week, and I like there's a tactical element to having enough meds to stay in the blue, right? But we touched on last week where it was Scoom and also I think it was Break. They just literally, their tactic was to drive all the way up north and just get as many meds as possible past Georgia Pole, and then they just literally, Break just sat in Georgia Pole and he was spamming meds for at least 4 circles, and that gained them to get 8th place, right? And it was just like, for me, as a complete outsider, as a spectator, that's one, boring to watch. I don't really understand the tactical element in that, right? Because it's like, in my mind, it's very simple. You drop down, you loot, and then you're meant to fight, not sit in the blue. But in the same point, it's like, how would you adjust it? Because I was thinking maybe at the start, like just having a time limit on each circle. So if you're outside of the third circle for 5 or 10 seconds, that's it, you're dead, rather than a tick time.
Yeah, I agree. I mean, bottom line is, yes, this is a survival game, but god damn it, they're putting a mini 14 in this game. There are SKSs, ops, mini Uzis. Like, you got a fucking arsenal. This is a tactical shooter, whether you like it or not. Like, this is not a survival game. So
are you looking forward to the mini 14?
I love global drops. I love crate drop. I'm just excited for more guns in the game. I don't care. I'm just saying, like, the golden age of this game is, I'm dropping a bomb right now. Hold on, let me hit my stickers real quick. Okay, and boom. No, I'm serious. Like, I think this game, like, when it actually starts to shine, is going to be when teams start to change the meta for squads, and you don't have teams playing the gas or whatever, looting in Georgia Pole for 30 odd minutes.
Yeah.
Like, I mean that's smart from them. It's like their fail-safe, right? Like, if their team gets wiped, they're still alive. But yeah, I think, like, I was talking to Amir, and he was saying one of the things that they're thinking of is, like, the longer you stay in the blue, the slowly more points you lose. He said that was, like, maybe an option. So, like, if you have a guy just sitting in the blue the entire round, like, he's slowly gonna, like, lose points for his team. Or you have something like, I guess, an H1. I don't know exactly how it works, but, like, the longer you stay in the blue, the more toxic you get. So the more damage you'll take if you stay in the blue for a longer period of time.
Yeah, I like that system actually the most.
The H1 solution works. I mean,
you can't evermore it, right?
Overnight.
Yep. Yeah, you can't evermore it.
Evermore.
Fucker, stay in the blue. Didn't die once in solos. Died to the blue twice. Got first place.
Yes.
He got some cash.
The thing is, as well, it takes a certain type of person to just be like, yeah, I'll be that guy. You know, like,
right? Yeah.
Who realistically wants to do that kind of tactic anyway?
Dude, people were flaming him on Reddit. Yeah, people were flaming him on Reddit.
But he does not give a fuck with that kind of money, just for sitting in the blue and medding.
If I could go back in time, I'd do the same fucking thing.
Exactly. that guy's gameplay was, you know what, fuck it. You know what I mean? I'll come back and play better the next time. But right now, I'm winning that money just by sitting there and medding and
Smart,
dancing around
yeah.
a bit, trying to swim in a rock that won't let me move.
So
That's
I mean,
cool.
for you guys, actually, well, we can touch on it a bit. Like the mini 14. What's? I mean, first of all, I want to raise the argument about the potential of the crates, right? Because I think we've got three things with crates. We got number one, the amount of shots it takes for a. Shut up. Trying to ask a question. What is this? No, right. So the mini 14 in the crate drops, right? Obviously, there's three things I think about. You've got the cars, which don't take a lot of damage to get blown up. Like, one, I think that needs to be adjusted. And two, Dan, you raised a good point about the M24, right?
What about it?
He doesn't even know the point. There you go.
What point did I mention?
No.
I haven't heard the M24 mentioned.
Dan mentioned about possibly moving the M24 out of the crates and into the normal world spawn drop. So you'd have that with the
private conversation.
Yeah, you'd have that with the Car 98 potentially as well. I mean, do you think that'd be good?
Yeah, we were talking about like how special weapons are. So like one of the things which has been discussed, I think it's coming in one of the patches, that we might see a Tommy gun rework, and the Tommy gun's going to come out of a crate drop. And so then from that, you kind of think, well, how special are the special weapons? And I think everyone can agree, like, the AWP's pretty special. Everyone wants an AWP. But yeah, like finding a Car 98 in a crate drop, is it really worth the risk of going to the crate? Like the same thing with a Tommy gun, is it really worth the risk? And then, like, I suppose the one which is on the fence is the M24, because I think, like, although you can kind of see how it would be in a crate, it really doesn't kind of feel like it's got that kind of like X factor. The only thing that one of the things it's really good for is that the bullet velocity is really fast. So if you're in a sniper fight versus a guy with a Car 98 and you both fire headshots, the guy with the M24 wins because his bullet lands first.
I don't know. I actually really like the M24. I don't mind. Like if I see it in there, like I mean, obviously I'd rather have an AWP, but the fact that it's easy to like you don't have to worry about running out of bullets with an M24 like you do an AWP. Like
that's very true.
It's if you're using the Car 98 a lot and then you pick up the M24, it's like you put the game on easy mode. I that's how I think of it, at least. So I think it's in a good spot.
I think he's also trying to think of like, are crates worth it?
No,
like,
I know. I'm
do
saying
we want
like
more
That's
better
what I'm
weapons
saying.
to be spawned in there so that more people go for them, so that it causes more fights.
The thing is,
more risk.
I think the M24 is worth it though, but that's coming. Like I think that's like I think the M24
I think it is
on the fence.
I like the M24. Yeah.
I mean, it really is just a faster and easier to use Car 98, and a Car 98 can change a game. Like if you had,
they just nerfed the Car 98 too, right? Like, I mean, I personally,
my
playstyle, like, yeah, I think they nerfed the damage on it, but this is like a while ago now. I might be wrong. Anyway, point is, I personally would like to see less reliance on snipers. I know like most of the special weapons that have been like added to the crates as of I don't know the last few months have been, you know, sniper focused, like updates to the scopes and shit like that. Well, I think this game is a blast to use scopes in. I think it's awesome, but I think, you know, in particular, like part of the reason why like it's so RNG sometimes, and I'm not even talking about at the Invitational, like just online, is just I feel like snipers are somewhat inconsistent, and I don't prefer to use them. So I mean, while the op is amazing, yes, like, and I love to have one at all times, I think there is still in my mind, as someone who doesn't chase crates all the time, like I don't think it's a huge issue.
So what do you think about I'm just gonna throw it out there. What do you think about like just get rid of crates and just having set loot in certain areas? So like Georgia Pole, police station, or so say in Georgia Pole you had three spawns with the AWP. You don't know where it's going to be, but you know it's in Georgia Pole, right? That would maybe create, for me, it would create a lot of exciting fights because everyone knows there's an AWP there. They don't know which building it's in. It's in one of 3 locations, but it's less random than driving to a crate. And especially for me, with the bullet damage on cars, it just feels like I watched a lot of squads just light up, literally just light up Davies. It's just like, oh, yep, there's a flame ball. And that's the end of that. Like, it feels like crates, I don't know. I would be up for removing them and having set loot, possibly.
I like crates in a way that I don't go for them, but I use them as bait.
I think crates are a cool idea.
I think they're quite interesting, and you'll find that like when I've been playing solo, especially, I kind of like the mechanic of it, because you see people like they're literally camping around the outside. Nobody really wants to pressure in, and that one motherfucker that's driving over. He sees a crate. He's got a hard on for whatever's in there,
me.
and then they just get lit up. And then everybody's running at each other because they know that everybody's out on. I hate to say it, Dan, but on the defilades, hiding. Right. I like that mechanic. I think because you can use it as bait. You just bait people out with the crate. Wait.
I do think like cars die too early or die too fast with squads. Because if you have 4 good players, that car is gonna instantly blow up. Like your car just melts in squads. So I don't know like how you'd fix that, or even if it needs fixed.
Monster truck.
Tank. Import a tank in the military base.
Yeah.
Yeah, you're right. Though.
World War II era tanks. Let's go.
It's 30 rounds, 7.62 for a vehicle.
Really?
That's not. Yeah, that's it. That's all. It's 30 rounds of 7.62. So if
Yeah,
you've got like, a
mag.
couple of guys, yeah,
This
you've got a
is
couple of
instant.
guys with AKs, and they're
that's
decent
bad.
players, and they can aim. Yeah, you're gone. You're
Well, I always
toast.
tell you to carry an AK for squads and roll cars, man.
Like,
A lot
you
of
have to carry
I love the AK. It's my favorite red dot.
the grosser on auto. The car's mincemeat.
Yeah.
I mean,
Should they have more armor for squad games or what?
it's
I don't
it's a
know.
problem because if you make them into,
I think they should just have more armor in general. Like, I don't think they should be impenetrable or invulnerable, but I feel like if you're driving a car through one firefight, like that shouldn't be GG for you.
Right.
Like
I
maybe if
agree
you
with
lose
that.
a guy out the window, you know, leave him. But like, I shouldn't be like, okay, we're getting shot, boys. Nice try. As I'm like trying to fucking dodge bullets and shit.
I really like
think
though
what-
that like you didn't see anybody in a vehicle late game and like the invitational and stuff.
That's
like
the
that.
thing. Yeah, we don't want to turn into like
Like,
H1Z1 where
I
there's
don't know.
cars everywhere.
I think it'd be really hard to actually
So it's-
balance out like the armor on cars. Yeah, I don't know. I don't know how they do it.
I think more than just one AK.
different
mag
cars,
would be
different
enough.
armor. Like the
Yeah.
different UASs maybe should have more armor if they have like
Yeah,
a
since they go
back and a
slower,
top.
maybe.
But I think adreN, when you mentioned about like maybe having a different type of, I don't know, the armor numbers for squads, I think that's actually a good idea. Because I think if you're playing solo, say for example you got a full clip and you can empty it into somebody, but you're on your own. So
Right,
like,
yeah.
You know, I think you want the cars to be a little bit more easily damaged when you're playing solos. And again, up the penetration rate that it can take for duo again, and then for squad, like maybe make it, I don't know, 60 or 70 or 80 rounds or something before it blows up. So then at least there's some consistency
Right, yeah.
in the speed that the car can be blown up.
I still think you should have a mechanic where you can get on top of it as you're driving.
But not make it like you say, not make it where H1Z1 where it's Dukes of Hazzard at the end where everybody's flying around in cars, like. But just slow down the process of being able to blow it up.
I suppose that's the thing with H1 though. It's like, it's not as realistic, right? Well, we all know you can fly at like a million miles an hour. Like I played that game for maybe 2 hours, and some guy flew up in a car and just flew out like Superman with a shotgun. Fucking took my face off, and I was just like, absolutely not, never again.
Yeah,
Just
we've
closed
all
it down.
died like
One's
that.
Need for Speed, dude.
Yeah. It's the arcade
It's
one.
Need for Speed. It is. The actual police cars are Need for Speed cars, like legit.
So
They look exactly the same.
I suppose we may as well touch on what we did last week as well. The water. Now, last week we mentioned about the water and the circles in the water. We saw it in Gamescom. People just sat behind the boats. I've used it as a tactic. I'm sure everyone has, right? But my idea to fix the water was hypothermia. So the longer you're out there, basically you pick up hypothermia, which means you can't camp, right? Now, as we saw this week, well, actually, let's first get your thoughts on it, and then we'll move on.
I think you should be able to shoot in the water, like 2 feet under. I mean, you could do it like real life. I watched a Mythbusters episode on this. The op, any guns with a high velocity, their bullets pretty much disappear within a foot. Like the op, a 50 caliber rifle will like the bullet just disintegrates like within a foot underwater. But like 9 mils and shit will go like 6 feet under. So I don't know if you could have it due to like you could shoot deeper with like slower shooting rifles
because they're thinner. More
it's just
round,
velocity.
It give you
More
easy
bullets.
pistols.
It's the velocity speed. Like the 9 mil shoots slower on like the pistol they shot in, so like it actually like went a lot further and would like puncture skin.
Oh right. It's like the force which it hits the water because
yeah,
the other ones are higher.
Yeah, like the 5.56 like high velocity weapons, they just like their bullets hit so hard it was like everything just scatters.
See, I mean, like Lex mentioned, no water, and like the thing is with the change they've now implemented that bullets will penetrate water. I just don't think you'll see anyone use it at all. So it's like I think the balance might be slightly off there because it's like it's going to be so unfair now. Say you get a bridge military base, someone has to cross to get in the water. It's just going to be even worse.
Yeah, it'll be really annoying. Yeah.
How far are they shooting though? Like how far can you shoot in the water?
I'm not sure if the stats have actually come out just yet.
No
Dan,
idea.
do you know that one?
No, I think if there's anything like that, it'll be in the patch notes tomorrow.
Yeah, they've just mentioned in
God damn it.
in the
They should
patch
have released
notes is
those today.
basically like water wood will now be added with bullet penetration. So obviously we'll see tomorrow what comes out with it, but I don't know. I think having like a hypothermia effect would have been better because you could have said like when it comes in, you could stay in like the blue circle for X amount of time. You start picking up hypothermia, you start moving slower, and then eventually you die, right? So it doesn't put people off of the going in water. But I just think with the penetration thing now, you're just gonna get people just like literally unloading.
I like that as well. I don't like when someone's literally 1 inch below water though, and I can't shoot them.
Yeah, that's a pain in the ass. Right?
I think that's frustrating.
Really annoying.
I mean, the issue is like being able to dive down, dodge some bullets, come back up for a half second, go down again, right? So I think the breath mechanic could use some adjusting, and kind of it's just a non-issue anymore, right? So if you can shoot somebody that's swimming on top of the water, like why can't I shoot them when they're like glitching up and down underneath it, right? Like we're not talking even about a foot. We're talking about like 6 inches worth of water is able to protect someone from an AK-47 2 feet away. Like, maybe, but
have them surface for longer. For don't come up for like a split second, and then you get more breath. Just like you have to stay up for like 2-3 seconds for it to like start filling up a bit.
Maybe you don't swim faster underwater, that kind of thing. Maybe you swim faster on top, that kind of stuff. I also think you should just be able to melee underwater. It would immediately solve all those problems. I don't know why you can't, like, if you could just literally fight underwater, all those people
like a knife.
forced to, like just anything, right? Like maybe you could pan, right? Or
why can't
any
you
sort of melee.
Can you imagine trying to swing a pan in water though?
Yeah, the pan would be so hard.
But, okay, but I just meant
maybe
more
a
like
spear gun, dude.
Just like
Give
you
me a
should be able to
fucking
use
harpoon.
your hands, right? Like,
It'd be
I don't know, I think that would have solved all the issues if you could just literally use your hands.
Lex, I think that was mentioned last week with
circle.
Dan and Hollywood about the crossbow. You should be able to use that underwater, right? Or at least into the water, because that's no different to a harpoon.
They mentioned about having the crossbow as a different inventory slot, so it wouldn't take up your pistol or your 2 primaries. You could have it as like a fourth, and it could be used exclusively for like the water gun, so to speak.
I like it.
That'd be okay.
Not a bad idea.
I don't want to see the crossbow in competitive play ever.
No,
personally.
You not see these same clips?
Yesterday, guys.
I did, I got crossbow for the first time on stream yesterday. I had like a 6-kill military start, dude. I was just like stalking this guy, like crouching in a corner, whips around 180, crossbows me in the face. I was like, all right, I'm done with the crossbow for life. Fuck that shit. I don't know. I think there's like a bunch of different solutions that we've mentioned, but like specifically for esports related shit, I don't think there should ever be like a beach ending.
Okay.
Like already online, if you're talking about like being like water endings, the first guy to the beach basically wins. Like he gets in a hairy situation and just goes into the water.
Do you think that's because of lack of open cover though? Like, I mean, if they added in a few more rocks and things like that, do you think that could be a viable thing, or is it more just like beach endings?
You talking about on the beaches?
Yeah. Just adding in some.
Well, I mean, like
form.
if they threw on some tank traps on the beach, I think that'd be sweet. Awesome, yeah. But I just mean like to deal with the water issue entirely for competitive play, like maybe have set circle endings in the first place for the map, right? Like if you've got 6 potential endings that teams can actually practice and prepare for, then you can actually like work on strategies and tactics with your squad based on the appropriate ending. Unfortunately, because it's a survival game and because it's supposed to be random and fair in that way, the circle is always going to be random, right? Like you're going to have a different ending just about every time, at least slightly. And that's like in a lot of ways a good thing. But if we're talking about it as far as Gamescom and the future of competitive PUBG goes, I think, us as Counter-Strike players want to be able to control something.
Well, we used the same 5 maps, right, for the last 17,000 years.
Hey, and we have full control, right, over how we play those maps. So for us, we're like control freaks over how we want to play the game.
I suppose you could, in a way, you could kind of make it organized chaos. So you'd have, say you started off, there was a set circle or set rotation circles, but within every circle there was 3 options, right? So you knew that roughly where it was going to end, but there was always 3 possibilities, so you wouldn't get that kind of, they still have the random factor in it, but it still keeps obviously some kind of tactical base. Or we could just do it like you said, just have like, okay, we know if the circle starts over, I don't know, military base, it's going to circle down to a certain area. The problem is with that is that I don't know if you'd get like almost everyone just rushing to one point, but
yeah, but that'd be exciting though.
Well, that'd
be exciting though, right? Like, because if everybody knows that, it's
really
a bit
quick.
like, what was that? Sorry, I was waffling.
The game would be over really quick though. Like, just half the fuck, like everybody. Would be dead.
Maybe.
I mean, Lex.
But I mean,
that's the goal, though, right?
Strategy, though, right?
I mean, no, it's a survival game, Alex. Come on now.
It's not. I don't buy that anymore. I don't. If PUBG wants to evolve and become an esport in any way possible, like, you gotta let go of some of the homegrown survival shit. And unfortunately, I mean, H1 did it with their esports stuff, right? Like, they had to change the complete, you know, structure of the game and the way it's played and accept some things that weren't survival based at all. We mentioned its needs for speed now. PUBG is not a whole lot different, where there are some things with the meta that are going to have to give. And if they want to hold on to one thing, maybe they have to give another to make it actually like something competitive to watch, you know?
I think you touched on it though, Lex, when you were mentioning about, you know, specific circles and things, being able to build strats teams around it. And that's one of the exciting things that people do like about CS, is that we tend to see, especially at the top end, is like specific strats, and you kind of know just about what the teams are going to execute, but it's how the other person's actually anti-stratted that and dealt with it. And at the moment, obviously with the RNG basedness of PUBG, you don't necessarily get that. You'll have a specific team that might have an idea of what they're going to be doing, but due to the RNG of the circles, it can completely throw them off balance to what they're going to do. But now, if you try and lock it into certain circles, then yeah, maybe you might have a clusterfuck of people rushing. You also might have people going, right, well, we know everybody's going to be rushing there, we'll get them on the exit and do different things and actually work on an anti-strat to deal with people.
Yeah, it could be meta with inside that.
Yeah, so I think it could be quite interesting.
What about this? I was talking to the TSM guys. I forget who exactly was mentioning this, but like,
my wife set the washing machine off, man. It's pissing me off.
Like, if the circle goes far west, like, it can't go west again on the next circle. So like, if it goes far west for the first circle, then it only can go north, south, east. Or like, I can't go, like, for example, some of the circles go like, let's say it goes far west, and the next one's far west, then far west. The people on the east literally just get boned because the circle just keeps going as far as way every single time. So at least if you know the circle can't go the same exact direction with inside the circle, you know, there's like 3 other spots where, like, you know, a team can't get the circle every single time. Because right now, like, that can happen.
Yeah, you should never have a game where you literally never stop moving. And I think I had like 3 or 4 at the Invitational where like first circle rolls out, and like if you don't have a vehicle, you're auto running for the next 20 minutes and you might never stop. You literally might never ever stop moving because of the circles. And it's just like, there are things that I respect from the survival community standpoint, that like there are RNG factors that I, as a CS player, I need to accept, right? Like that I might not always get blessed by the circle. I might, you know, get shot in the back from somebody coming out of the gas. Like there are things that, like, in my mind, I won't let myself get frustrated by, because it's just something I'm not used to. Okay. But if you're talking about like squad-based metas and stuff like that, I think honestly, whether it's like adreN said that the TSM, I think that's a great idea, and that's kind of like what I said, where, you know, the circle has 3 options of where it could be, and you just you have a strat, or you have a game plan that you can make and actually plan for end game. So we were in squads, and we had the circle one time when we were posted up in those sniper towers, guys, if you remember, in the final squad game, and we were set. We thought we were going to get the next circle, and it's just like totally random. Yeah, and you just kind of move, and suddenly you're in the mix with 14 other teams trying to come out of the blue.
Would you add
out of the blue?
Would you always have set loots? Like, sorry, would you always have a looting phase involved in this game, or could we eventually see, I don't know, Bluehole just come in and say, okay, we want to design an esports map with all the top esports as teams and streamers. We're going to design this map with all of them, hands down. We're going to design every bit of cover. We're going to have set circles, and instead of looting phase, we're just going to have a loadout system. So like people basically choose a starting weapon, or
That's a different game, right?
Yeah, it's a totally different game.
Yeah, I think that's.
I think it's too much of a change. Yeah.
It's interesting what you guys are saying, but like, I mean, like from my point of view, like, you know, in a way, this is its own thing. It's not really trying to be Counter-Strike. You know, like it's become it's a different genre, isn't it? It's the battle royale genre. It's a different style of game, and inherently with that battle royale genre comes all of this RNG. So I agree that it does definitely need some tweaks, but I think that half of the things that I mentioned, like the RNG of the circles and the loot and all the things, kind of go to build the magic of that genre. That's a lot of the reasons why people like to play the game.
Certainly, I don't disagree with that at all. I think in general, from a spectator standpoint, like if you have a favorite team in CS or in PUBG, if you're like a fan of one team and you're rooting for one team, like how frustrating is it that you just like watch them get boned 3 games in a row at an event just based on the RNG factor? Like you got to have a little bit of storytelling to the amount of thought that goes into these guys, and I don't want it to be camping in the blue and medding like that. That shouldn't be a strategy to win $30,000 or whatever. See, like that should never be like, you know, something that I think personally, I don't think that should ever be like a viable strategy in the future for this. Completely,
yeah. The thing is for me as well, as being from a casting perspective, is like you said, you need to be able to build a story, right? And like you can't have that unless you. Okay, we need to keep it. You scrap my idea of that set loot. Fuck it. Terrible idea. But like we need to have some sort of organized randomness, like you were saying, maybe like a with this. I think it comes down basically ultimately to the circles, right? We need a little bit of organized randomness within that. So whether we go with what you were saying with like the TSM guys, it can't move if it's been west once, it can't go there again, or whether we go with okay, the circle starts over Pachinki and it can move with one of these 3 places, and if it moves in a certain way, you roughly know each time where it's going. That might be a form of organizing it a little bit better for esports, I think. But you know, it's new. They're still figuring it out. The problem's going to come is how do you, because I have to go back to CS. Like we've got this divide right now, haven't we? Like between the community, what the community want, and what the pros want, and basically Valve are pretty much hands off. They don't get involved in anything. All of us, I'm sure, are frustrated with that. Like after you see how awesome the PUBG devs are with their game, it's like, what I don't want Bluehole to do is make like the wrong decisions in terms of not just for everyone, you know, like because eventually you're going to annoy people and you're going to lose one side of the community, which is why it brings me on to the next point is first person versus third person. I would like to see tournaments for both. If they go one way, I think it's going to segregate half of the community, to be honest. But I mean, yeah, it's up in the air, boys. What do you think?
Between first person and third person? I mean, yeah, I think it would like really split the community. I don't know. I think that's really tough. I mean, it really depends on like where they're trying, what direction they're trying to take the game, right? If they're trying to go actual competitive, I think you have to go first person. But I don't know. I mean, there could be changes where third person could be like a little bit more viable. Like for example, like proning. When you prone on top of a building, you literally see everything. And we were talking about this at Gamescom. Like if you prone, you should have a very low like visual appearance. So like if you're in the grass, you can't just third person shoot someone while you're proning in the grass. Or if you're on a rooftop, you shouldn't be able to see everything around you on the rooftop. Like there's got to be something if they want third person to be competitive.
Yeah, I think like for third person to even be relevant anytime in the near future, like there's got to be some serious mechanic changes to the way the camera works. In first person, you can't look directly behind you with it, which I think like is my favorite part about first person, right? Is like it really wouldn't feel too much different from third person. Like if you could just have a 360 swivel at all times. Like you couldn't glitch rooftops.
Squeaky bum time, innit? You're shitting yourself because you don't know who's behind you.
Yeah. I mean, that's part of the pucker factor of it is like you get some exciting shit going on when like you're creeping up behind a team and you know that the flank is real and they have no chance at fucking being able to react to. So I think third person definitely needs tweaks, but I mean, you touched on it. I think for Bluehole in particular, the challenge is going to be making sure that they don't change the game so much for to make it competitively viable. Like, I don't think there should be like set maps for like a competitive scene only, right? Like, I don't think they should be doing anything different than you can go and do at home on your own PUBG 100%. Computer. Like, Like people at home should be able to practice the same way the pros play or whatever at all times. So
I mean,
that's my I really cling to that. Like I don't think they should be doing any like set loadouts just for esports game events or whatever.
That's basically
or
what
anything like that
messed up CSS. I was just gonna say, like, for years, do you remember like playing a public CSS server to a Zeblog was just like next level. Like you literally couldn't go home and play how the pros were practicing. So
do you remember early CS:GO? There used to be certain maps that were like SE version.
Yeah.
With a
no fog, dude. No fog.
Yeah.
and that was frustrating. I mean, I feel like as far as PUBG goes, like if they, even if they, I mean, the question is can they fix first person and make it as fun to play, like movement wise and mechanics wise, as third person is right now? And I think that's one of the strongest arguments to keep third person viable right now is that third person movement wise, camera wise, like just everything about it just runs so much smoother. Like you feel better when you're in third person. The camera height and the gun glitches on walls is frustrating in first person, and I think that's a lot of reason why people have gripes with it. So I think like, and I know Bluehole's already working on a lot of these things.
Yeah.
So I think we'll see the results soon.
Do you feel really short in first person? Like,
yeah.
I don't know what
camera
it is,
seems so low.
Like, I mean, I'm short in real life, so I'm used to this shit, right? but like, I just feel I feel like I'm a Smurf. Like, and
the camera height does feel off. Yeah,
it's definitely off.
He's a bit too low.
Motion,
I was talking to
the sway is crazy. Sorry, I didn't mean to cut you off.
No, go ahead.
It was just like the sway with the guns is like, it actually bothers me. I feel like you're literally like throwing your guns everywhere as you run around in first person. It literally can make me feel sick sometimes. Like
you're like
I literally feel like I'm like, yeah, dude, it's crazy. That's like my biggest issue is like you're running around and you're just like you're trying to look around your gun. Like it's bad.
Yeah.
I think like one of the problems is that they speak about the new kind of urban map. I think if you have that right now with the third person camera angles, it's just going to be an absolute fucking nightmare.
I will never play it.
I didn't even know that was in the works.
Yeah,
I heard the desert one.
Oh, have you not seen the picture? Oh,
I saw the desert one. Yeah, is that the one you're talking
that's
about?
That's what we're talking about. Huge apartment buildings.
Right.
Yeah, it's like a 5-story apartment with like, mate, about flipping 100 rooms in there.
Yeah, but half of those that won't be accessible. Like it'll be like you've all been to military base and you know the apartments on the military base. Exactly, and it's all on fire, isn't it? So if you look at the pictures from the city skyline, you'll see that all those floors are on fire. So it looks like only the first couple of floors are going to be accessible.
So what about having for thirds? For example, when you prone, like you said, you can't look as high over things, so it kind of cuts off. And if you go behind a tree like an obstacle, it like the camera zooms in slightly, so you can only see so far left and right. Do you think that might be a viable fix for it, or?
I mean, if you approach an object, I mean, that's the thing is basically you're touching on first person territory there, where it's like such an easier fix if you just do first person because, if you come up to an object and your camera kind of
trying to be diplomatic, man. Come on.
No. I'm trying to be. So I'm gonna play devil's advocate here. So if you did have the camera zooming in kind of behind you as you approached an object, yes, like that would be a mechanic that would at least on some level reduce the control that a player has to abuse the camera mechanics, right? I think that's the frustrating part is like in first person, I'm never afraid to push anybody and get aggro with an AR.
Yeah.
Like, but in third person, I'm like, give me a Kar 98, give me a UMP, so I can either like kill somebody that's gonna rush me and shoot them from afar because I'm never gonna push somebody like close range. And anybody watching out there is gonna be like, well, Lex is just a pussy. But honestly, like in third person, there's so many ways that you can play that just like don't really benefit skill or like reach the skill ceiling that a first person game.
Well, when everybody's just as good too, or high skilled, like you get punished immediately. Like it's not like you're playing. Right now you can't even tell. When you're playing the leaderboards in third person, you can't really. The player pool is so massive. Like you never really run into crazy skilled players. This is like a tournament where all these guys are playing just as much as you, if not more. And if you make a wrong move in third person, they're just gonna punish you. Like you're just gonna peek, you're gonna die. If you try to make a move, you're just dead because they're not gonna miss. It's not like online where we've all had those players that literally whiff like 3 magazines on you out in the open and you get cover. These guys will put you down in like half a clip or half a magazine.
So when you were at Gamescom, did you feel it was more of a an out aim thing, or was it more that you guys were out positioned?
Always
definitely always opposition.
Always.
And understand that like we didn't. I mean, we like practiced in that we like ran. We played squad games a lot together, but like, you know, as content creators who are trying to be competitive, you know, we hadn't done our homework that we would for a CS event where you study strategy and have a plan or whatever. So when we went in there, like we watched some of these teams that, you know, I've watched their streams and I'm like, oh, okay, they're decent players. But even though I'm like confident that I've got better aim than this guy and that guy and that guy off these top orgs or whatever, I'm just like, they're way smarter than me at PUBG, and it was apparent in every single game through the entire invitational.
Yeah, I even saw you tweet about it, actually. You were like, holy shit.
Yeah, I was amazed. I was like, I mean, part of that was part of having to do with guys that were just looting at the gas for the entire game. But like on the other side of it, like these guys had compounds picked out to the T where they had a guy on the bottom floor, a dude on the roof, like scouting out for info, and then guys taking engagements out of the windows. And it's just like, that's a smart way to play the game in third person because you get all the info in the world without having to peek anything, and you just wait for your mate to wait for them to walk up. Like it happened to me and Flom. I think it was the Noble guys, probably one of Daz's teammates.
Oh yeah, dude.
And like, and we're like coming over the crest of this hill, and we're watching this compound, and we're like, all right, nobody's peeking the windows. Let's creep up on it. And I guess somebody was spotting from the roof or something because bottom floor window, somebody pops out with a Kar 98 and blasts us both in the face. It's just like, it's just one of those things where it's like they were rewarded for having more game knowledge and having positional advantage, and there are factors there where I'm just like, you know, good on them. Because
it's a skill set, right? It's a skill set to practice his angles.
It certainly is, and they deserve to kill us there, right? We were punished for it. But on the other hand, it's like if this was first person, that was a fair fight. Like we're having a black battle right there, and that's exciting to watch.
And as CS players, we probably win, right?
Oh yeah, we love
that.
Yeah,
of course.
That's interesting for me, to be honest, because the reason I don't play PUBG because I get 5 FPS, so that's an issue for me.
He's a cheat game. Won't get a graphics card.
But you talk about obviously the aim wise, you think it's fine. So what's with the crossover from CS to PUBG? What's the hardest and easiest aspects? So it sounds like you think you could out aim anyone because it's a transferable skill from CS, but
it's just CS players in general.
Egos are
massive. Egos, yeah. No. Honestly, I remember dying to break in the very first solo game. It was third person. My chat was very angry because I got third person from a fuckboy shack, but no, it was. I literally was like watching this dude play, and I'm like, oh my god, he just rattled off 30 bullets, and his crosshair didn't move an inch. And that's when it like occurred to me that these guys had already like dialed in the mechanics from the Arma days or whenever. Like they probably had 2 or 3K hours at least in those games, and now they're playing competitively in PUBG, and it's not a huge crossover. Well, for us in CS:GO coming to this game, I think like the initial issue is you're not dealing with hit scan weapons. So you've got bullet drop, you've got velocity of the rounds, and that just comes from hours played and how much experience you have with all the guns and the attachments and whatnot. But now that I think coming back from the Invitational, knowing how these teams play and how they're using the mechanics to their advantage, like I full spray at everything now, and I just am full confidence mode, right? And so for us as CS players that are playing the game now, I feel like we are learning a lot quicker by watching those guys. I mean, me personally, I mean, it was a night and day difference coming back from the Invitational, where like I don't care who it is. Like it could be the best PUBG player in the world, and I feel like I have a fair fight now. So I think that the mechanical differences are certainly apparent, but I mean, Shroud is one of the best streamers I think on Twitch right now.
He's not so XP, isn't he?
He's got insane aim, and it's just like that stuff does carry over from Counter-Strike for sure. But there's definitely a learning curve that just has to do with the amount of hours that you put in.
As a prime example, I was in duos with George the other day, and we were trying to help Daz out with some stuff with his studio mic and things like that. So Daz was in Discord with us. So he was watching George's stream, and he was analysing the way that George was playing. And in terms of aim, obviously, with the CS side of things, George's already got aim, but it's to do, like you say, to do with the mechanics, the bullet drop, the time to lead, and all the other stuff. And literally, from experiencing it from somebody who is more ingrained into into PUBG than they are CS, and like literally George just started shredding everyone, like because he started to listen and understand the mechanics of
it's
PUBG.
once we like understand what it is, like, because I had no idea that like the lead time was always the same. And like the further away it's like the drop, right? So I was just always leading different based on distance, which was like a big fucking error for a long period of time. But it's like you said, like, soon as you know what you're doing and you've had that experience, it's like, realistically, how long is it going to take you to catch up, right? Because it's ingrained in all of us with CS, because CS is...
You've all got the cat-like reactions from CS.
It's like, well, we all know how CS is. It's bloody hard. Best of times. Especially CSGO.
Fuck.
But I mean... Yeah, I mean, so obviously we've... What's coming out next? Yeah, FPP, right? FPP ladders. So I guess it's safe to say you boys will be spamming that.
Oh my God, we're so excited. We are so excited. And by the time this podcast is published tomorrow, I imagine, I hope, I pray that FPP leaderboards are out. Like, we've been
Sean,
planning...
you need a graphics card, bruv. We actually need to get on this as a squad. You fuck.
You better buy me one then.
But would you agree though that, like, so you guys are gonna first you're gonna spam FPP, right? That's fair enough.
Yeah.
Like,
we're not touching third, I don't think.
Okay, but do you agree there's room for both in tournament wise? If you're blue hole now, do you choose?
Not at the moment.
Okay.
I think if you're blue hole, you make the choice relatively quickly, because I mean we're still in early access, right? Like, this is the prime time for blue hole to figure this shit out. But they don't want to fuck with things too much, right? They got 1 million players playing, or I don't even know how many millions of players.
Yeah, it's
playing,
like,
but the concurrents are insane, right?
Yeah.
They're breaking records, and they shouldn't mess with too much. I think third person should stay in the game. I don't think there's an issue with it, but I think, you know, now that FPP leaderboards are out, you're going to see every streamer and every team playing those. I think part of that is the foresight that competitively it's the more viable one. But the other side of it is, I mean, personally, as CS players, we're biased certainly that we find it more fun. I think I mean, C9 was very vocal. At least some of the players on C9 were very vocal about third person being the truth and the future of this game. And I think they were right for the right reasons, but I think they're wrong for all the reasons that we previously mentioned. Like, competitively, I think third person just won't have a place, even if they do fix the mechanics. But I think we can give it a chance. I think, you know, with bearing in mind some fixes, it still is a possible thing, but most people are still going to choose FPP regardless.
Yeah, I think third person's pretty cool if you're not good at the game.
Wow. Bro.
Gives them a chance. They can see you for 30 seconds before they shoot. They're just getting ready.
Not, without being that aggressive.
One of you on camera got to drop the flash. Come on.
I dropped the dynamite.
I dropped it, but I forgot I'm not on camera on your phone.
There it is.
There you go. Boom.
Oh, but I think the spectator side alone, like, it almost has to be first person. Like we were just talking about, right? 70 screens that you're trying to watch. Think of like how much FOV you have in third person. That's so hard to track. Like, when these fights are gonna occur. Like, first person, I don't know, just seeing how the games ended on the first person duo day versus the third person days, it was like night and day difference. It was so much more entertaining to watch. Like, the fights were way cooler. There were plays being made.
The flow was way better. Yeah.
Yeah, like third person, we watched people sit in the water. We watched a guy get flanked, and then he went prone in the grass, and he won a fight because he won the game because he went prone in the grass, and the guy couldn't see him, and he third personed him. Like,
yeah, that's a big one.
That's terrible. Like, that's not how you want somebody to win a tournament. You know, like, I think first person spectating wise, like, you have to, like, forget all the in-game stuff, right? Like, pure spectating wise, first person, I think, is where they have to go, because watching it any other way, it's just really tough. Like,
yeah, people were saying like that, like, first person's bad to spectate, but like the spectators can spectate in third person still. You know what I mean? Okay. It's like it can look like they're all playing third person, but like they're actually playing first person. Like, if they really wanted to spectate third person over first, they could. Yeah. I mean, it should look exactly the same, just with better gameplay.
I think a lot of people are getting behind first person as well. I mean, like, I can't remember the last time I've clicked on a major streamer and they're not streaming first person. Like,
no,
like,
I think
legit,
everyone does that.
like nearly everybody's streaming first person because I think they truly believe that that's the one that needs to be practiced. Because when it becomes competitive,
whenever I click on your boys' streams, it's always first person. I don't think last time I saw you queue through it third person.
I clicked on Lyric, I clicked on Summit. They're all first person. Like, you know, I know you mentioned Summit earlier, but like I watch him now and again when it's late at night, and he's first person. He's not third person. He's first person. And you know, I think that in itself should be a telltale as to the direction where it's going.
So say we go down this first-person route, then they mentioned in the patch notes. We'll get into foggy weather in a second because to me it just looks like a Jason.
Yeah,
game,
we need
you know,
to like we're long talking, bro. We need to like
some crazy horror game, but like the grenade we worked. Should we just implement how it is in CSS? CSS. God, dear God, that's my age. CSS.
Wait.
How so?
What?
Well, like, so at the moment they mentioned the grenade rework. So like, I'm just thinking like, just have it like CS:GO. You know, the double click for medium flash, right click for underarm, left click is full power. Like, if we're gonna go first person, we may as well just implement it like that, in my opinion, because it makes sense, right? To me that's probably one of the best things about CS:GO.
Isn't that already the case though? I'm sure like Dan tried to get me to do like
you can underarm in this, yeah, but they're gonna rework how.
Confused on my fingers.
They're going to rework the whole trajectory thing in PUBG, right? Because at the moment, you ever have it where you're trying to aim through a window and it lands like 10 foot above where you're actually
it's really broken. It's
you almost made your teammates every time, and you have to call out grenades because you almost killed the whole squad.
Blew myself up the other day in a solo. Very depressing.
And the thing I don't like about... Just realized what you said.
A lot of views.
Lex, you look
a lot of views.
Genuinely, you look
could
sad.
be like Todd though at the Invitational and jump on one.
Oh my god!
Have you guys seen this?
See that? ESL tweeted it out. Our teammate Anger, literally like first 5 minutes of the. It was the second solo game because it didn't get in the first one. Literally like first 5 minutes of the game, gets his first kill of the Invitational. He starts celebrating on stream. He runs over and there's a cooked nade on the body. And just like,
oh no,
can't feel of a worse way to go out, frankly.
And
that's blowing yourself up, I guess.
I've experienced this before with Erik, but like after you like cook a nade and then you die, it doesn't make a sound. It just like it's just there. Like it doesn't make like a dropping noise. It just like it's like it's in your pocket and you just I don't know.
Yeah, man. Erik was throwing a grenade and he got knocked out, and I went over to revive him like the true bro that I am, and then I got taken out by this grenade.
I just thought I didn't like. I don't know. I thought it just went back and.
But is that
made no sound?
I guess
no sound.
I guess what I'm meaning is like there's no way to like medium cook a grenade, right? There's only the underarm, which is broken as shit because basically it rolls like an inch in front of your feet, and then like the whole trajectory thing. They say that we're reworking it, but I just think just take what we saw in CS and pretty much implement that because it's a good system, and maybe make Molotovs a bit more effective because they're really bad.
I mean, outside of the trajectory, I think one of the coolest things that PUBG can do specifically for squad-based games is work on smokes, because those things
client
bug
side,
out
aren't they?
Glitch 9 times out of 10. They're client-side smokes.
Yeah.
Like I get that they don't want to burden the servers and have them lag because of smoke grenades or whatever, but if you can find any kind of consistency with them, like squad-based games, even like duos. Like you're gonna see some cool shit coming out. Like imagine, and I proposed this to these guys before I even knew that smoke grenades were a thing. Like imagine like rolling smoke, like dropping smoke grenades when you're pinned down, and like being able to reorganize as a squad and then move behind those smokes and flank with like flashbangs and fucking HEs through the smokes and just come through and like actually use them tactically. You can't rely on them at all right now, and it's just like, why even have some of these grenades in the game? Because half the time they're fucking worthless.
Do you also think the time to deploy, so like the speed of which the smoke actually disperses, needs to be increased?
I think you can cook smokes too.
Yeah, but I mean, like, you know, when it lands, when it actually explodes, it takes a good 4 or 5 seconds before it's actually bloomed. Like, and I know that they want to follow
how it is in real life. How it is in real life. No, in real life, you throw a smoke grenade. You know, the 10 feet around the smoke's going to be plumed and it's going to be out, but it's going to take a good 45 seconds before the wind starts to take the smoke and it actually disperses and you get a smoke screen out of it. Like, I don't necessarily hate that because I don't think smoke should just be like a ninja vanish, like
it should be
that players use.
Yeah.
But on the other hand, I think the glaring issues with the smoke grenades are still there. So if you're waiting that extra 4 or 5 seconds for the smoke to even start to plume, and then an additional 10 seconds for it to start to build up, if that smoke doesn't even show up, then you're basically fucked, right? Like if that smoke's glitched under the map somehow, or it's like,
well, I've had it before, like
10 feet into the ground. It's like
people the other day, George, you threw a smoke upstairs and it went off downstairs.
Yeah, but there was one more. You remember there was a game we were playing the other day. They threw 2 smokes out, and I was like, I see nothing, boys. I hear the psst, and I just see them running across the field. I'm like, oh god.
Happened to me yesterday.
Not like this.
On the crate. Alex was right there with me. Nothing happened. I was like, do you see a smoke? And he's like, no. Nope. I was like, well, I threw one. Like, I don't know where it's at, but it's supposed to be there.
And it happens a lot, man. Like this isn't just like, oh, well, this one time in the game, my smoke didn't deploy. Like that happens in CS occasionally, you know.
Yeah,
you get your smoke glitched on a texture and it doesn't deploy right,
or it doesn't blow the lights off.
Like, yeah, you deal with that. You take it in stride. But this is like over 50% of my smokes are not doing anything what they should be doing. And stun grenades don't even get me started. Like the amount of times I flash somebody in a room and have no effect is just, I don't even pick them up anymore.
So I suppose last couple of things. God, I've been keeping you boys a long time, man. But like foggy weather, what do we think about this? Because to me, I'm never going to play it. It scared the shit out of me. I know it's going to be random, but I think I'm just going to disconnect.
I don't want to play it.
Be Silent Hill.
I don't know. I hate the rain level. Like I absolutely hate the rain level. So like I don't know. I think I won't enjoy the fog level either.
I'm that guy that everybody hates that loves that stuff. Like I love the rain. I love the fog. Like let me just do some really cheeky stuff because that's what I really enjoy doing. Just some sick flank in the rain because you can't hear anything in the rain. Like it's amazing. You can't even hear myself. Literally walk right up next to a guy and like he has no idea. I don't know. I think the fog will be really cool, and I think, as a sniper, that would be a lot of fun just to like pick somebody off and they don't even know what happened to them. They just have no idea.
Flom the alternative.
I'm with you. I think like the ambient noise on rain levels needs to come way down. Like Jesus,
that's my only beef with rain levels is that like
I can't hear myself think.
Yeah, it's really loud. I think fog levels are their answer for that, where it's realistically like silent fucking fog, but you still restrict the view distance and you get closer range fights.
It's open cover, isn't it, basically?
Yeah, I mean that's kind of the argument against rain levels. I think as streamers and content creators, is we want to go for high kill games.
Yeah,
you don't get as much, you just won't get as much in rain games because you can't find squads as easy. You can't hear shots as well. You can't hear vehicles as well. You certainly can't see that well. I think fog kind of, certainly you're going to deal with some moments where like a squad's just going to appear literally out of thin air. But I think as far as like just casual games go, I think it's going to be fun. I think we're going to get there, but I think I'm interested to see that on other environments and maps as well.
You mentioned obviously you're all streamers, stream team, I suppose, like stream sniping, counteracting stream sniping. Now I've been thinking about this because I see everyone just have you had it where like people drive up to you in cars, beep 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 beep, like fuck, like it's really annoying, right? But like, what would you think? Do you reckon there's a way PUBG could implement and work with OBS with some sort of like browser injection, source injection that it almost, I don't know, added like a transparent layer when you brought your map open, so people wouldn't see exactly where you were. Like, because I think stream sniping is almost, I don't know if this happened too much to you boys, but I see like it's becoming quite an issue.
Doesn't bother me as much actually. Happened to me yesterday.
It's funny as shit.
No, like I don't know. Like yesterday, I had a guy. He was talking in my chat, and he's like, "I stream sniped your game." Like literally, as we loaded in, I was like, "All right, that's fine, whatever." And he landed across from me, and I ended up killing him. It was just one of those things where most of the time I don't mind it as a streamer because it gets me more fights, so I don't have to work as hard to go find people. So I don't mind it. But from the honking aspect, I don't know. It's like
fanboying you basically.
I don't know. I don't really mind it that much, to be honest. That's my opinion, at least.
I think the issue is like when you're talking about stream sniping, like the bigger streamers, Shroud, Summit, Cypriel, like these guys that like it's an actual real problem for them because they can't just play a normal game of PUBG without half the server flocking to their positions or whatever. Like that's when it does become an issue. Like certainly I've been stream sniped, but I'm not a big enough streamer to where like it happens every game or anything like that. It's not a pressing issue for me.
Don't say that.
I think it'd be.
Come on.
I think someday. I think it'll be awesome if they do have some kind of workarounds for that. But on the same hand, like there are countermeasures that you can implement as a streamer. Like there are things that you can do, whether it's hiding your mini map is like a very basic one.
Yeah.
Not showing your screen until you've already jumped from the plane to another. Like there's
a streaming code of
things
conduct
that you can do, but you can't totally eliminate it. And even if you had the map hidden, like people have played the game enough to where they can just like see where you are on the map and know exactly where you are. I know if I'm watching a streamer, I don't need to look at his map. I know where he is on the map, you know?
Yeah.
So this is an issue in every game.
Yeah.
Even in CS:GO, like, and this is something that we stream all of our matches and all of our scrims, and understand that if you're a fucking streamer, this is just shit that you got to deal with, and unfortunately, sometimes it's gonna ruin your day. But I don't think there's a fix anytime soon that's gonna be foolproof, though.
Okay.
You just have to put on massive delays, I suppose, but
that's that's like the one thing you could do, but then it ruins your stream.
Then,
you can't interact with chat, right?
Being able to interact with the chat properly,
Yeah.
And that's what people come there for the most part. Like I think people really undervalue that. They always think like most people are like, oh, they come in because you're good at the game. But I can tell you right now, like from personal experience, and I'm sure Alex and Eric have had this too. If we have like match day and we stream our matches, we have plenty more viewers, right? But our subs and all that other stuff, like it's less than half, right? Where if I have half the viewers I normally have, but I'm interacting with everybody, having a good time, just relaxing, shooting the shit, it's much more beneficial for you to be interacting with people than to have some massive delay, because at the end of the day, like they like that connection. They might love the fact that you're great at the game and that's an added benefit, but they enjoy being able to interact with you on like a live level.
Having to wait a minute for you to respond to respond to a question is a bit long, isn't it?
Exactly.
Yeah, they spam the same question like 4 times.
You haven't even seen it once yet. Like,
just wait 90 seconds.
Yeah.
Right. So essentially, obviously, we know you guys mainly play CS at the moment. We just wanted to go over a couple of CS questions just to finish off, as I know that's your main. Well, that's why you started streaming essentially as well. So I guess the first one is more aimed towards adreN because it involves one of your old teams in Liquid. Just wondering if you obviously watched the ESG Tours Mykonos tournament. That's obviously
Mykonos,
in the previous Mykonos.
That's the one.
Mykonos. Good at English.
Mykonos sounds a bit like my colon.
Wrong crowd. That's the later one.
Yo, that event actually looked
sick. Did you watch it? Yeah, it looked really cool. It was actually nice to have quite a laid back one. I guess it's kind of reminded me of the Take TV stuff and when it's it's sofas, it's a bit more chilled and stuff like that. So it was quite nice. But yeah, did you watch your old team? Obviously, I know you played with Nitro and Elite.
I did watch the final. It was like a weird final because it went all 5 maps, but each map was like almost a blowout. So it's kind of weird. But I mean, Liquid's obviously looking like really good. It's kind of weird now that Stan is not in-game leading, but they brought him on the team to in-game lead. And everyone was like, oh my god, Stan's the best in-game leader in NA. But now, like, having Nitro in-game lead. It's like, what the hell happened?
I didn't even realize they were doing that.
Actually, because I noticed Nitro sitting in the middle, and I was quite surprised. I mean, to be fair, he's not played too well in the past few years, in all honesty. But I was quite surprised at how low he was ragging. But once they explained it, and obviously Stan was just...
They played really well. Yeah.
I was really impressed. Do you actually think they could like progress from here and become a decent team, or do you reckon they need an in-game leader? Because obviously Nitro's like.
No, I think when you have so much support for Nitro, like Stanislaw can like pretty much mid-round call, help out Nitro. Like he has so much support between Stanislaw and Zeus that I think like if Nitro really wanted to do it, like he has the support system to do it. So, I mean,
all you really need to in-game lead, like you don't need incredible knowledge. You just need teammates that are willing to do whatever you say and are willing to help you out when you don't have an answer, right? So like people ask me all the time for in-game leading on Mythic, like, well, when did you start in-game leading? And like, how is it in-game lead? Like, why is an adreN in-game leading? And it's just like, for me, those questions like I'm not a traditional in-game leader. Like my whole career in Call of Duty and CS:GO, like I was not an in-game leader, and just in the last like year and a half, I've been doing it. And let me tell you, it's way easier, and you're way more confident in your calls, and you're way more focused on the game than you would be normally, I guess, as an in-game leader when you have teammates that are like smarter than you and willing to help you out. So I have adreN sitting next to me at all times. It's just like, no, fuck that. Like, this is the play right here, and like having the humility to be like, okay, I don't know everything, but I have people around me that probably know or have a different opinion on what could be done. Is just like for Nitro, I think in general, he's got adreN's right. Like having a support system like that, you can put anybody in that game leader position as long as they're confident and people listen to them. Like you're not gonna have issues.
We used to swap.
I think Liquid's got a hell of a roster now, honestly.
I mean, we used to swap it out based on like between me, Andre, and I can't remember now back in the day, but we used to swap it depending on who was feeling it. Because like you say, as long as everyone trusts in the team, like everyone knows the plays, right? Yeah, back then we were playing so much. It's like, okay, you take over today because I'm pissed off at something. It's like, all right, no worries, mate. I got you.
We have those days. We have those days.
What do you think about the DreamHack coaching rule change? Because I'm all for it. I think coaches should be more active. I think this whole where they could only talk in the pauses and set pauses. It was I like that they can now talk in the freeze time.
Yeah, that's what I actually like when Valve banned them from talking or whatever. I was like, that's like the perfect like medium ground for them to talk in freeze time. So I'm really glad that's a thing.
Yeah, I mean,
I think a lot of teams benefited from it though. Like obviously G2 were definitely one of the teams. Nip, we know how much threat has an impact.
Yeah, like let them talk during freeze time, and then the players actually play during the round. Like it makes sense.
It was there was a brief period of time when we were on Luminosity. I don't think you were still on the team, Flom, but we had Anger was on the team then, and we had Dazed as our coach for a few months before Valve said no. And like we didn't have very many big brains. It was like me, Naf, Peter, Pith, and Anger. So like you're talking about 5 fraggers, no real in-game leaders there in that roster at the time. And we had Days literally as a 6th man being like, no, reposition here, throw the smoke there, dump your utility, hang on to yours. No, okay, rotate. He spotted 2. Like having somebody being able to talk during the rounds always felt like OP, like you were cheating because you had coordination that wasn't previously there. So I think like having a happy medium with coaches being able to talk and at least give some input. I mean, that's what they're there for, right? Is to analyze the game, give input to strats, and like help improve the quality of teamwork in between players. But they're not there to micromanage. Like I think Valve was right to nerf coaches, but I think they did it in the wrong way, and I think DreamHack's making the right steps.
Yeah, it definitely made it a more interesting tournament, and a lot of the teams that would have struggled actually took it up a level, so it's a bit more interesting, more competitive, I guess. And so for me anyway, the last thing I was obviously going to talk about was the Mountain Dew League. Obviously, I know you're competing in that soon with the LAN and stuff like that. So if you just wanted to basically have a little chat about that, some of the teams and stuff and how you think you're going to do.
Well, I mean, we're the lowest seeded NA team. We finished 3rd. Both teams that are above us, that finished above us, I mean, they're salaried teams. They I think, and they have coaches, they have supporting staff, they have people that do the homework that me and adreN have been doing all season, more or less, for us. And it's interesting because we will be a team that, like, I honestly don't like. I feel bad saying this, but like we don't deserve to be there. Like these NA teams that have like no, I'm serious. Like we have the skill and we won the games and we deserve it in that respect because we the fact that we beat the shit out of NA Premier teams to get to where we are is like absurd to me. It literally stuns me that these teams we stream everything. We talk about all of our strats. People should know these things. Like it blew my mind throughout the season because there was teams that were obviously prepared and counter-stratting us round after round, and then there was teams that just like came in blindly against us. So for me, like going into this tournament, knowing that the level of competition is like going to be totally different, it's not anything different than any of us have seen playing professionally or internationally in the past. I mean, you got to prepare for the teams. There's going to be teams that are better than you. There's going to be teams that have map pools that you don't want to play against. I mean, we got Space Soldiers, flip side, these teams that are like either tier 1 or borderline tier 1 that by all means should blow us out of the water. But like we know we can hang with NA pro teams on some maps that we have in our map pool, and it's gonna be interesting. But I think like and I've talked about these guys to this before, but like we're gonna prepare, we're gonna pretend that it's like some super serious event. But like as long as we show up and are having fun and being confident and not playing like we have something huge on the line here, because we really don't.
That's your
Like,
advantage, right?
I think we're gonna, yeah, no, that's what I'm saying. I think we're gonna do just fine. Like I don't know that we're gonna come in there and win the event, but I think like we're teams are not going to respect us very much, and I think that's like something that should play into our factor or our favor.
Yeah, because I saw a couple of your games recently. Obviously, the Tempo Storm 2-1 the other day, leading into the NRG game as well. And obviously, Tempo Storm as well have got a couple of decent players. So I think a lot of people would have expected you to possibly lose that. And then against NRG as well, you didn't get blown out of the park. Like, you know, that's obviously a salary team. That, you know, there's some good players on there, but you didn't get destroyed as well. That's the thing.
Yeah, they're like 6-2 in Pro League or something like that.
I
like,
think they're actually one of the top pro teams online right now.
Yeah, and they've got insane players on their roster. And the thing is like we don't have strats. Like everything that we do is on the fly. You realize that, right? Like, so I like out of freeze time, I'll either call a default and I'll have a variation of it, or we'll call like some scrimmy plays and some like on the fly strats. And like
make some strats.
I'll lean on adreN and we'll be like trying to analyze teams. And honestly, we go it's an ongoing meme on our team where we go down 5-1 every single game. And then we come back and we beat teams because we have time to analyze what they're doing, and it's just like you just kind of play the mind games, and it's kind of well, it's not kind of, it is not the way that you should probably play a proper Counter-Strike, am I right? But on the other hand, no, I mean it's public. Not, dude, we stream this shit every day. This is not a secret. Like, and if anybody puts any kind of homework into us, I mean, sure, they're going to have ways to kind of pick apart our defaults and come in prepared for us. But I think it all falls onto us as individuals. Like, yes, we can implement some stuff in between now and the actual event. But as Counter-Strike players, like going into Gamescom, we were totally unprepared.
Yeah.
We didn't really know how to work on this stuff. But this is not foreign territory to us as far as CS player goes. Like, this isn't our first rodeo.
So what's
it should just be fun.
What's the obviously moving forward? What's the focus for you guys as streamers, as Mythic? I mean, if the opportunity came up to be professional CS players again, would you even want to do it given the amount of time required? I mean, or are you going to focus on PUBG? Like, what's the sort of going forward? You know, where do you see yourselves in 3? I hate to use that word, you know, that whole sentence, but like a couple of months down the line, where do you want to be with Mythic, your streams, which game, that sort of stuff?
I think like there's very little chance I'd go back pro. Like, I think it'd have to be like the dream scenario, where like you're playing with like people, like 4 players that you like trust in, you believe in them. Like, I don't know. And I don't think that's ever going to happen. There's not going to be 4 players right now. I think that like I'd want to actually play with on the pro league team. So I don't know. I'm just going to focus on streaming. This is the main thing right now.
You don't trust you, Lex. I said you don't trust
the pro salad guys.
No, we get asked this a lot on stream, and adreN's exactly right. Like, something that I get asked every single day, and I'm sure you guys get them too, is like, if you could play for one NA team right now, who would it be? And the honest to God answer is none. And it's just I mean, you don't. Part of the frustration that I had the last 2 years in Pro League or whatever was that like I was never on a stable roster with people that like I trusted or that trusted me, and I think that's rife throughout the entire.
That's
NA
like,
where like,
but that's not just the NA scene. That's no, sorry, I was just gonna say that's CS:GO in general, right? Like back in Source, the money was lower, and because of that, we were getting like 200, maybe 300 euros max, and people played with each other because they enjoyed to play with each other. I mean, we pretty much stayed the same core for 3 years. And now, when I tried to play CSGO, it's just constant. You're constantly like watching your back. Like, who can you play with? And for me personally, I just didn't. It took out all the fun from the game for me.
This still happens at low level CS. Me and Anton go to LANs. I mean, we haven't actually competed in the last 2, but we pretty much have about 5 people that we'll actually play with because we pretty much hate everyone else. And that's it. They're our boys, and we just want to go and enjoy it. And you know, we used to be alright, but it's just nowadays it just seems like whoever you bring in, there's always a bit of tension and stuff, and they want to move on and they want to play with these other guys because the grass is always greener, and that's at a low level of CS, and that's the thing.
Yeah, it's literally toxic. It's from the ground upwards. Everybody's just trying to step over each other to try and get that next.
I don't necessarily like fault players for that mindset. I mean, on some level. I mean, personally, I've played on 2 rosters ever in CS:GO over 5 years. Like, I have kept the people that I play with as close as I could before I started signing to orgs and having like all of my friends taken away from me, more or less. And that's something that, like, if I have a regret in CS:GO, and like fl0m's in the chat right now with us, like, there was a period of time where I had an org basically tell me that we're replacing fl0m, and I'm just like, okay. And
Right,
and that's something that you can't really keep a core 5 and hope to go pro. It's just not a realistic thing. Like, if we went to the pro level right now and got moved up, like, first of all, the community would fucking hate us, specifically because we have Poland on the team, and it's just like cool to hate one of our teammates. Like, you always have a scapegoat on a team. Like, the idea that like you could take a 5 that you're all friends with. Like, I did it once, and it lasted like 6 months before one by one, like, everyone starts backstabbing each other to get the next hot talent, you know? So for us, like, getting moved up to Pro League, like, yes, that should be our goal, to be like that good, right? We should be pushing towards that, and we're not going to stop competing. But like, no, I don't see us like hoping or actively trying to be a team that like is salaried at an org or something like that. Like,
but off the back of what you were saying, Lex, like, do you not think that maybe that's part and parcel of the problem, and why there seems to be an imbalance of there's never a consistent winner, like across the globe in CS. You know, you can kind of predict the teams that are going to win, but it doesn't always show in the same way. Like, back in the day, in the early days of CS:GO, you know, literally it was nit, because they played together for so fucking long. It was just how it was. And before that, in CSS, it was very games, and it was for fucking years. You know what I mean? Like, because transfers and monies wasn't such a big issue, like, people would actually stick together. But now it's just like football. Like, somebody will just buy out somebody else and change it, and you never know who's going to fucking win the next, because actually it's become imbalanced.
I don't like it.
Everybody's just buying the best players.
Yeah, I think FacePlan's a perfect example.
Yeah, exactly.
Or Keo, dude.
No, it's like a perfect example, right? Like, they literally had everything going for them, but they saw 2 shiny toys, and they just dumped all their money. And now
they finished top 4 the last 5 events before they made that change, right?
We discussed this last week.
2 best of 1s, and they cut 2 players. They lost 2 best of 1s, and like, no, we got to redo this whole thing. And
so for me, that's I agree that maybe the pro scene, it has to be like that, but in the same way, I think that's actually it shouldn't be, because in a nutshell, really, if the people stuck together, they could still outplay these people that are paid to play at a high level, because they've actually got team chemistry. Like, there's no chemistry, there's no trust. You know what I mean?
The closest thing we have that right now is probably SK. I mean, they make very limited roster moves, and it shows. Like, they had a little rocky period when they added fl0m, but like, they overcame that, and they're probably, if not first, we would definitely all probably have them in top 3. You know, like, and they've been there. That's the thing, is like, it's not like I mean, I think the lowest I think I would ever have SK is maybe like 7th, when they were in that rocky period with fl0m when they first got them. Otherwise, they've been a rock, like, of consistency. They have tournaments where they don't necessarily win, or they don't make the finals, but they never go out in groups or anything like that.
So are you guys gonna do you intend to compete in more PUBG stuff? Or are you just gonna keep the focus on both?
That's something, actually, we played together last night for the first time since Gamescom with our actual 4 that played in squads. I don't know if you guys realized that, but that was actually the first, because we went to PAX. Like, we weren't around. And then we had our playoff match last week, so we've been full CS focused. We haven't really played much PUBG. I mean, I've been playing a ton individually, and I think everyone else has too. But as a squad, we hadn't, and that is a question that we haven't necessarily brought up. But I know personally, and I think I speak for fl0m as well, where when we envisioned Mythic originally, like, we wanted, above all else, a team that streamed and played together, right? So that was like the baseline. And I would love to see us like being able to at least dip our feet in other games and actually like try and be competitive at them, just because like CS:GO from a content creator's perspective is like, it's still strong for us, but like every day it just feels like
it's a grind,
the
right?
quality of it is just dying slowly, and it's just hardcore CS fans that really come by my stream now when I play CS. So in general, I think us branching out as content creators and not as CS:GO streamers is beneficial to us. So now on to the question, PUBG in particular, do we want to play in more? Fuck yeah, I do. Like I think I would love to see all of us get really good at the game and play together and actually compete at these events. And part of it is because yes, I think our PUBG viewership is slowly growing. I know for me after Gamescom, for factors that we haven't touched on yet, my PUBG viewership has been really high. But I think just the amount of fun that we've been having playing together and actually like going to the PUBG event at the Invitational itself, the amount of enjoyment that we had there, it's kind of like, why would we just ignore that and just be like, oh well, thanks for the invite.
Yeah,
like we'll catch you next time.
But is it
no? Like I would love to see us either come back to the next one or go to the next event, or at least being able to contend in some of these online leagues.
Yeah, I mean, there's 2 out right now. Like, there's the awesome tournaments and the PUBG Online one. There's loads, I'm sure, but those are the 2 ones that stick in my mind. Is that something you're thinking about entering?
PUBG Online specifically, we've reached. I mean, I know I've reached out to basically all the teams that were at the PUBG Invitational, just ask them those questions. We were at the event. We're like, guys, how do you practice for this? And some of them were like, well, we just play online ladder. I think that was Liquid guys that were just like, yeah, we've never played in anything. But everyone else was like, yeah, we practice in PUBG Online, and we, you know, we've played together in some of these events. And yeah, there's not necessarily money to win, but like you gain some clout and some notoriety in the community, and you kind of become this kind of like reputable force in the PUBG scene. And I'd love for us to at least get to that point to where, you know, even if we get shafted and we don't get invites to events or whatever, we've at least worked for it and proven to people that, like, you know, we're legit. And regardless of whether or not we get invites because we're content creators and we get viewers, I think it's just fun for us to play. And it's a whole new spectrum. Me and adreN had the whole team actually had a long talk about it right after the Invitational, where like the amount of thinking that you have to do for PUBG is what's so interesting to me about it. Like in CS, you calculate risk, right? And you make gambles, and you like make pop flash pushes, and you have a strat that you kind of just, okay, the enemy's probably doing this. Let's execute this strat, and you take a chance, right? PUBG is more about like polar opposite of that, where you're mitigating risk and you're trying to, you know, control factors that aren't necessarily controllable and trying to make them work in your favor. And that, to me, like, that is a whole new spectrum of thought, you know, from a strategic and a tactical perspective that I've never touched in competitive games, right? Like Call of Duty and CS:GO, first-person shooters, you have strats, you go shoot people. That's like it. In PUBG, there is that survival factor, and even though I was like harping against it earlier, like those uncontrollable factors and just like, you know,
first game I ever played on PUBG, I felt so fucking lonely, dude. Like, I felt so alone. I'd never experienced anything like it. I never played H1Z1 because to me the game just looked shit. I'm sorry, but it looked too crap. But this game, I bought it actually. George was telling me to buy the game. I bought it before him. I jumped on the server. I got 2 kills and then got murked by this car that just ran over me. Right, and I just felt so alone, like out in the wilderness, this huge map. And like you say, like from that moment onwards, I was gripped just by the many factors that you have to think about. Even just moving somewhere, thinking about the next bush you're going to move to, because some fucker's hiding behind a tree watching.
I am that guy. I'm that guy, dude.
No, you know, but serious though. Yeah, the factors to think about. I've changed my model to a female character just because I found out that they're more nimble.
Yeah,
they're more nimble and little things like that. So she's still black, but like you know,
he's always got
these little things. There's no racism there. I'm just saying that I'm mimicking my color in real life.
one last question. I promise this is the last one, boys. It's CS. It's actually CS related, and I don't know if you want to give your opinions on it, but iBuyPower being unbanned and Days coming back. Is there any thoughts that you feel you want to add, or I'll start with mine just to break the ice. I feel that I've said it publicly. I think what they did was fucking stupid. They served their time. I don't know. I don't know how I feel about them playing again. It would be, from a nostalgia point of view, it'd be nice to see the boys playing again.
I think they served their time.
Yeah, I think it's good. I don't. I'm not. Yeah, it was good. I don't know. I think getting the shaft art for something that, like, I don't know. Just, there wasn't even like anything in place. I mean.
Yeah, but what they did was
no. I'm not saying they shouldn't. That they can use that. That they shouldn't. I'm saying for the length of time. I'm purely talking about the length of time, how long they should be banned for.
I just liken it to.
There's just nothing that was set in stone. Like, if you do this, you're banned for this amount of time. So putting indefinite in there is a little rough, I think.
Yeah,
and not just
I mean, you got to liken it to sports, right? Up. Like in real sports, you 2, 3 years, 5-year ban, but once it's done, right?
Yeah, I just don't like. I think it's wrong to just say indefinite. You just. That's just terrible. You should just say you're done or this amount of time.
Yep.
And if they're unbanned from some of these leagues, like, that's good. Like, I mean, at least somebody somewhere is putting out there a set amount of time, like, that you should be penalized. I think that's good.
I still wish there was an official, like, one rule though, right, instead of individual unbans.
That's what happens when Valve is hands off. You have everybody that has their own set of rules all the time.
So in my mind, with that situation, like, I find that the whole, like, the way that was handled, there wasn't any real defining rules before it happened. And I think even though CS got quite big, in their minds it wasn't big enough to it be, that it was going to warrant that kind of response. And to have, I know, like in like major sports and stuff, you will have a lifetime ban for that type of behavior, or you get your whole shit kicked out. But at that moment in time, it was quite frivolous in the terms in which they were doing. And yeah, it was wrong, but I don't think it quite warrants the lifetime ban. Or if they're going to do a lifetime ban, fucking say it. Not like,
no, exactly. That's
not see that shit coming. Yeah. To be fair, it was like a CEVO match that had no effect on anything. So they were like, fuck it. But
I don't know.
Obviously, it was wrong.
I'm quiet about this. And I just think, like, from a legal perspective, or like from a justice perspective, the way that Valve handled it, like, I don't even think I think they deserved a harsh ban, but just the way that it was handled, like, at a certain point, like after like 6 months, I was just like, why are these dudes even banned? Like, what is going on, Valve? Because the way that they handled it was just utter trash. So I'm glad
they were going to go unbanned, to be honest.
Yeah, I mean, I'm glad to see that they're back competing, just from the shit show that came out of it all. But I think in all it's a good thing that they're being unbanned. But it's still just like, that just goes to show the health of the CS community, that some tournaments are unbanning them, and yet Valve is staying mute.
Definitely CS these.
Just annoying. The whole thing annoys me. So
I can see.
No, mate. Dude.
The thing is,
like, it annoys me. I don't like inconsistency, and I can wholly get it if they followed the same line and they just toed the line and said, right, this is what it is. It's exactly what.
I'm looking at Lex's. Obviously, he's in a pink room, and I just seen his face just slowly like merge into the background. He's getting redder.
Like Kespa from the get-go. I don't know if you guys ever followed StarCraft, but like, lifetime bans, and eventually they did unban some players, and like, they were either repeat offenders, or they had happy careers, or they didn't. But in any case, like, at least they were straightforward, and they told him what was up. It's just like, hey, we're making a statement to the whole world, and you're banned indefinitely. We'll see you in 5 years. Like, what? Like, why? Why is that even like a thing?
You're like dangling a carrot, but not letting the motherfucker munch it.
Like, don't get me wrong, the integrity of the game is super important, and I think, like, the smackdown should have been given to anybody who ever did that shit. Like, that is scummy beyond belief. And I was with Steel the night before he got unbanned, and he said straight to my face, like, no, dude, 100%, I swear to God, there's no way I ever match fixed, and there's no way, bro, I swear, believe me, please. And it's just like, okay, I believe you, even though I had already talked to Valve devs and knew that they were getting banned. Like, I understand why they got the harsh bans that they got, but on the other side of it. Like Valve, give me a fucking break here.
Yeah.
Like
Valve need to be
getting some
more hands.
justice.
I think Valve need to be just take a perfect way to end. Just take a leaf out of PUBG's book, really, and be more hands on with the community. But I mean,
Or just
thank you,
vocal.
Bluehole.
Like not even hands on, just be vocal.
Yeah.
Like, let us
Bluehole's
like
amazing.
just give us like a heads up of, hey, we're doing this, right? Like we just have no idea. Like PUBG, right? They'll make a tweet, we're adding this gun, like check it out. Like
yeah.
we're gonna be doing some cool stuff. Valve's like,
I don't get it.
yeah, here's an update. We don't really know. We broke some stuff. Yeah, we'll get back to you guys on the hot fix soon.
Yeah. Like, dude,
It's so
back
easy.
when they were doing,
It's like talking to a
So
voicemail.
easy.
Like it's so bad.
when they were doing the weekly updates and stuff,
Just
and they were
anything.
like, yeah, guys, right, there's gonna be a break in the updates because the team are going on a 2-week holiday, and then they put out that patch that broke the whole motherfucker. And overnight, they were like, right, because we're going on holiday, we're repatching it tonight so that you guys can play. And I was just like, that's amazing.
Yeah.
That's actually fucking amazing. Like, I've never seen any of the dev for any other game do that.
I mean,
But advertise that they're going on holiday so people know that there's not going to be patches for 2 weeks.
I think that's a great point to end on, though. Is like Bluehole is doing so many things right that like,
yeah.
props to them. Shout out to Bluehole. Thanks
Yeah,
for
big
not only
time.
making an amazing game, but not being fucking a ghost about it. You know.
I mean,
Thank you
We
for
also
sharing.
appreciate adreN's dog, please.
I mean, Lex, I suppose last word for you. Have you got anything to add? Obviously, shout out to Mythic, you boys for coming on, and like you say, shout out to Bluehole for just being awesome, awesome devs, awesome game.
Yeah, I mean, well, first of all, we wouldn't even be here if we hadn't gotten an invite to the Invitational. So thank you, Bluehole, Amir, and Poopy Queen. I appreciate you guys. I mean, that's the thing is
Great
like,
name.
not only are the community managers all fucking amazing, but like every dev that I talked to at the event, they were just fabulous. So thank you to the PUBG community for not absolutely hitting us, for coming in as CS players. That was humbling beyond belief. And thank you to all the Mythic fans out there, boys. Could do this without you guys. And thank you guys for having us.
Awesome. Well,
Yeah, thanks, man.
Yeah.
thank you very much for coming on. That's Alex, Erik, and Erik. Also, fl0m, adreN, and Lex. I appreciate it. Awesome. Thanks for coming on and just being part of this podcast, boys. See you next time.
Later, guys.
Cheers.
Guys.
Thanks.